Greetings from Tokyo, my dear friends. This is Daisuke, and I very much hope that this video finds you well and in very good spirits wherever you are in the world. And today, if you don't mind, I would very much like to continue to respond to the great questions that you so kindly submitted to me to this channel a few months back. And I apologize so deeply for my slow pace, my tardiness. I hope you can forgive me for that, my friends, but I really want to emphasize or re-emphasize just how much I appreciate these questions. They're all excellent, and your enthusiasm for cinema and for life has no bounds. I see it is boundless and is filled with this infinite energy that I find so inspirational. So thank you very much for that, my dear friends. You continue to be my teachers in this great thing which we call cinema. And so in that spirit, I'd like to go to the next question, which is from 123rockfan. So hello, 123rockfan. It's so nice to see you. And what a great question you ask, which is, how important for you is the score and soundtrack in a film? I've noticed that if I dislike the score or soundtrack for an otherwise good film, I tend to not get invested as much. So this is a very great question. So thank you so much for this. I can say that yes, the score and soundtrack in a film is very important. It is, it is integral, and I should be very specific here when I say score or soundtrack. I mean, of course, I refer to, let's say, the use of, say, the music, whether it's within the space of the film or maybe externalized, applied to the film itself, or also I mean, or I can refer to, say, the use of silence in the same or similar capacity, because this also has a very effective mode of, say, import. And so I think those overall experiences, and of course many others, and where they're generated and how they're generated, or what timing is applied, or what musical instruments are used, etc., etc. This is all part of the overall equation of how we as viewers are affected by the scope and the expression of cinema. And that expression, of course, is all-encompassing. And part of that all-encompassing nature is, of course, what we see and also what we hear. And what we hear means what we hear in terms of active sounds, and also what we hear in terms of passive sounds, or what might be referred to as something akin to, say, silence, which is also a very important component. So this is a great question in that regard, and so I really strongly believe that it is integral, very important. And so the idea too of the importance of sound and music and score and soundtrack is something that, for instance, it can really take the experience to a completely different level. And of course, there's always that great kind of thought experiment that one can have in one's mind to imagine what a scene might be like if, say, a different piece of music is employed. And how the emotional impact might or might not be altered depending on this particular change that one imagines or one might express. I think an example that comes to mind recently I mean because I saw the film, I rewatched the film recently, is, for instance, say, the work of Alfred Hitchcock and a film which is called Torn Curtain. There's a very famous or infamous scene in that film involving a particular attack or fight between two characters in a farmhouse. And so there is a very famous episode, and ultimately it's a kind of an incredibly significant episode in terms of the working professional relationship between Alfred Hitchcock and Bernard Herrmann. But there is this this film or the scene is portrayed in the film without any kind of overlaid music, but there was, of course, a stage or a point where there could have been music supplied for this particular scene. But, of course, that didn't occur in the final version is what we have, again, without the application of the music. But instead, we have the silences and also the gritty and frightening nature of the sounds, the voices and the struggles that we hear of the people involved, as well as all the instruments that are, when I say instruments, I mean the props or the physical objects that are also part of this particular mise en scène. And so that forms the basis for the heightened tension that is built up in terms of what we see and also what we hear in that. And when one has the option, say in a special feature, when one is experiencing the Hitchcock film Torn Curtain, one can see, for instance, what could have been in terms of the use of music. And it becomes this very different, in my view anyway, a very different type of experience. So I think that is an indication of course, the power of music. Of course, another example within the same professional working relationship earlier, of course, occurs with respect to a very, very famous scene that occurs in the Alfred Hitchcock film from 1960, which is called Psycho. And there's a very famous scene that has this iconic use of music. And of course, one can play the thought experiment as to one of the production possibilities of the scene, which was to have this film without music. Now we understand that it could have been a possibility. And to imagine the scene without music versus to watch the scene as it is in the final film with the very iconic music, of course, that is another very famous or very interesting thought experiment. And so it goes to show, again, the power and effect of where one is taken when you have this very powerful combination of what you hear and then what you see. And so, and I also refer to the idea of what one hears or what doesn't hear. And so that is very much part of the equation. Also, of course, the idea of for me too, the idea of cinema and music is also a very important one for me, especially when I was younger, because it was a means by which I was able to learn more about music that maybe at the time I didn't know about. For instance, referring to maybe the works of Martin Scorsese, there is this very excellent way in which his films used or employed songs or excerpts of songs from, say, the Rolling Stones. Now, when I was younger and I first began to, say, watch the Scorsese films that I was able to watch, so I'm thinking in particular maybe, say films like Mean Streets, for instance. This was a revelation for me when I first saw Mean Streets, because this was, I was quite young at the time, but it was a point in time in my life where maybe I didn't know all of the music of the Rolling Stones, for instance. And so for a lot of the songs that were used, it was kind of a revelation for me to hear them. So there's a very famous use of the song Tell Me, and we have the way in which the Harvey Keitel character roams through this very red lighted cavern of a bar, and it's sort of an entrance, or one of the entrances that his character has in this very famous film, Mean Streets, early on in the film. And the very famous camera work that's involved here, it has a dreamlike, nightmarish perhaps quality to it as it glides, and then we see him do his sort of hypnotic dance, and it suddenly transforms before our very eyes into from a very subjective shot to a very objective shot, because we then see Harvey Keitel then go onto the stage and dance with one of the dancers that's there. So it's a magical moment in cinema, and it's made even more magical by the fact that we hear this Rolling Stones song, "Tell Me." And so I remember, so this was, I'd never heard this song when I first saw this film, and I was just mesmerized. And from then on, I was so transfixed by this particular song. I just was haunted by it, and it was echoing, throughout the inside of my brain. It was just so powerful for me, that impact, that moment. And so I think I had a similar reaction when I saw the film Casino. Now, there is a particular moment in Casino where you have this montage involving the character that was portrayed by Joe Pesci, Nicky Santoro. And there is this moment, this montage, that involves a particular version of the Rolling Stones song "Gimme Shelter." And so there is this moment where the sound of this particular, or this particular rendition of the song is matched to a moment of the montage where we see the explosion of an automobile. And so that to me was electrifying, because it was like the sound of the voice that we heard was in parallel to the rise of the flames of the explosion. It was an incredible juxtaposition, and I think it made that song all the more powerful. Of course, there's this huge link between Scorsese and the Rolling Stones music, in particular the link between Scorsese and the song "Gimme Shelter." It's very, very famous in terms of how he uses that song. So, but I think that's an example where there's also a very, very memorable way in which the song is used in the film Goodfellas as well. In terms of what is being shown while one is waiting for one's turn in the courts or something. So that's another very famous moment, and it's also used in the film The Departed, of course. But there. And speaking of which, music and Scorsese, I should say too that one of the most recent films by Scorsese, which is The Irishman, there is a really great use of a particular version of the song "Sleepwalk," and it comes in a very key moment in that film. And so I love that use of "Sleepwalk," because I feel like one of my assertions, perhaps, with regard to the film The Irishman, is that it is, or it could be seen through one lens of interpretation to be a type of fantasy, or a type of dreamlike way that one particular character is looking back on his past. And perhaps in that way, one can see that maybe he is glorifying, or maybe glorifying is not the right word, maybe he is amplifying certain aspects of his recollections or memories that might be elevating them beyond the level of reality into the realm of, say, fantasy or dreams. And if that's the case, then in fact the use of this song "Sleepwalk," which comes at a very key moment in the film in terms of what happens, and a moment of violence, perhaps, the use of the song "Sleepwalk" is in fact, perhaps in an interesting way and kind of nuanced suggestion that in fact we are experiencing what could be said to be a type of sleepwalk, this journey through the memories of the past memories of this particular individual, and how they may or may not be what happened in reality. And so they may in fact be something that occurred in a sleepwalk. So I find that type of connection to be so powerful, and something that is very much a part of what the Scorsese magic is, and what one of the aspects of why his films are so beloved as they are. And so that echoing of the music is really just so splendid. And so I could, of course, maybe mention other filmmakers and mention other examples, but I will stop there. I don't want to monopolize the conversation, but in fact, I would love now to turn the attention to maybe you and to how you might respond. 123 Rock fans, so thank you so much for the great question. And if you or any others have any responses to the question, please feel free to let me know in the comments section below. As always, my friends, as always, I would love to hear what it is you have to say. Okay, my friends, so that's it for now. And so until we meet again, please be happy and healthy and well, and please keep on watching a lot of great, great movies. Thank you so much, as always, for your time. I very much appreciate it. Stay strong, stay safe, and cheers.